Hey guys, so today I want to make a video about Zafrullah Khan, who was the first foreign minister of Pakistan. He was known as a superstar diplomat, he was a very key member of the Pakistan movement, and above all of that, he was a scholar of both Islam and Pakistan and published a number of books which have been critically acclaimed. Sadly, we probably know him most for the fact that he was an Ahmadi, and of course in Pakistan today, that means that you're pretty much discriminated against on a multitude of levels, whether it's economic, social, legal, and unfortunately it has a lot of fatal or lethal consequences in a lot of circumstances. But Zafrullah Khan was living at a time where this debate for the soul of Pakistan was very much being had, and the identity of Pakistan as an Islamic nation, a secular republic, a democracy had not been fulfilled because of course the first Pakistani constitution was not created or finished until 1956. So Zafrullah Khan was very much a part of these debates, and sadly he became a topic of these debates as well. And the religious conservative groups in Pakistan actually used him as cannon fodder to fuel anti-Ahmadi or anti-minority sentiment and create their ideal of an Islamic republic, which of course became the case in 1956. The religiously conservative group didn't like him for three major reasons. The first of which was the fact that he was a superstar diplomat. He was praised in an enormous amount of circles, whether it was the UN, whether it was Western governments, they all viewed him as someone people could do business with. Now, of course, to the conservative groups in Pakistan, that was an affront to their idea of an Islamic nation. How could this non-Muslim represent Pakistan, the first ever country founded in the name of Islam? How could he be parading around representing this nation? And that obviously didn't sit well with them. The second was that he was lauded in Western elite circles within Pakistan itself, and they viewed that as a departure from their ideal of an Islamic state or an Islamic nation created. And finally, there's a point of ego. A lot of religious scholars were probably less well versed in the Quran and Islamic Hadith and the Sunnah than him. He was by all means a religious scholar, and his books had been praised all across the Islamic world, and that didn't rest well with the people who were trying to have this purity test on this Ahmadi individual. Sadly, the debate actually frothed over into the streets, and in 1953 there were riots in Lahore. Now this was the first example of widespread communal riots within the newly formed nation of Pakistan. It had not decided yet internally whether it was going to be a secular democracy, a liberal democracy, an Islamic nation, an Islamic republic, because the constitution had not been made and would not be made for another 3 years until 1956. It had a number of debates raging on within the country, whether it was ethnic, whether it was regional, whether it was to do with the region of East Bengal versus West Bengal. But sadly, what was the first cause that created such political unrest? And that was how we view Ahmadis and how we view minorities within the country. And now that has unleashed a Pandora's box which we have not been able to close until today. So the Lahore Riots created an enormous debate. A lot of intellectuals got out and said that being an Ahmadi or being a Hindu or being a Sikh should be irrelevant to the fact that someone is a foreign minister or a public servant. Of course, the religious conservatives and the religious bigots did not see it that way, and the riots actually led to the Governor General dissolving the government at the time, and Zafrullah Khan had to resign a few months later. That was the first time that religious groups had whipped up this issue for their own political gain without thinking about the consequences. And as Tariq Ali says, that stain has continued to spread and has not stopped spreading. Whether you're a Sikh in Pakistan, a Hindu in Pakistan, or a Christian in Pakistan, the country owes you such an enormous debt for the horrible way it has treated you for the last 72 years. Whether it's the fact that you can't get an equal job, whether it's the fact that you've been structurally discriminated against, or whether it's the fact that you do not feel like an equal part of society, all of those reasons and more are valid for you being disenfranchised from the idea of a nation that was founded on minority rights. And the irony of the entire situation is that Muslims were a minority in India, and they inflicted the same wounds that they feared would have been inflicted on them in India. And this hypocrisy has seeped into the very soul of Pakistan, and I fear that it's something that it might not be able to recover from easily. Now, encouragingly, there have been some positive noises coming out of Pakistan with Imran Khan's recent government, with the Kartarpur corridor being opened, an investment fund for Hindu temples. But sadly, that is a little too late, because you have public servants like Zafrullah Khan who have been resigned to the annals of history, having done so much for this newly formed nation, having done so much to create the nation, and their memory is disgraced by scholars, ulama masquerading around as Islamic representatives when they don't know the first thing about tolerance or peace or acceptance, which is fundamental to the faith itself. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I want to see how this one goes down. It's a bit less documentary based and it's a bit more my opinion, but I want to see how you guys receive it. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.